This project, the Zawinul Legacy Band, is obviously it's to celebrate the music of my father and to continue his legacy. And just to be clear, what that really actually means, legacy, it's not really so much on playing the music so much. It's also about what a legacy is also about what has been left behind. And what has been left behind, and my dad has left behind, has been the impact of understanding the music and keeping the doors open of creativity and progression, moving music forward. And that's why these guys I picked that I felt would represent this in both ways, to move the music forward and having new ideas and fresh ideas. If you have a group of people like this that really, like I was saying earlier, that understand how it's supposed to sound, but at the same time bring in what they are as individuals, and this is an incredibly difficult thing. But with these guys, it's so natural. It's not even it's almost not even a thought.
With Joe's music, it comes down to you can't emulate it, and you can't copy it, and you can't pretend to play like the way he played, or you sound bad. But it is a language, and I think if you deal with it enough, and you listen to it enough, and you absorb it, you can begin, like any language, you can begin to kind of speak it. So I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to talk the language a little bit, and just express our love for what he did, for what he gave us, and doing it in our own little way, and I think because we've just gotten going, it's an evolutionary process. We've just kind of gotten together. We're out playing now, and every night we find a little something different, and a little something different, and it will just grow and grow and grow and change and change.
Getting in the studio and having those magic moments where a musician gets away from himself and gets himself out of the way, and there's that magic, and then you have that pristine, clear quality of the studio can be something that absolutely is golden and lives forever.
And what Joe did, I think, in the studio, the reason that he took so long to make records is because you might start with that spark and that inspiration, that thing that you get when you play live, but then he would paint. He would color, he would put a little, it was an artist, he was really painting with the music, and that's another art form, that's another whole category, and it creates, again, something else that is meaningful and lasting. is linear. He's just playing at that moment, reacting to the other musicians. He's a true improviser. He's in a class of his own, really.
Circular.
Sorry.
And I do not use any Afro-Cuban or Latin rhythms at all. I'm a bebop hand drummer, strictly bebop. It's easier, and I keep a wrench, so when they do change keys, I can change this one. So this way I have a relative pitch with whatever they choose to play. And it's easy because I only have to change this note. This is my lowest note in my setup.
I endorse Rico reeds, so I get reeds for free, which is great. But still, I don't like to have to go through reeds a lot, so I try to get a few days out of the reed if possible. And as far as reeds go in general, I'll get a reed out of the box, I'll play it for 15 or 20 minutes, and then I'll set it aside for a day, at least 24 hours. Then I'll try to repeat that, play it for another 15, 20 minutes, and then put it aside for another day if possible. And then by that point, it's kind of a little more seasoned and ready to play. I didn't used to do that. I used to sometimes just take them out of a box and go to a gig, but you never know what's going to happen. It gets very unpredictable at that point, so it's really good to give that seasoning process of a few days.
So what I do is I play, and I might record a lot of it into a sequencer now or something like that, and I go back and I see the parts I liked, and I can extract them, take them out. This is the latest the Nord Lead 4. And basically, I like to keep my setup as simple as possible. Because nowadays you can't travel with anything. You can't fly with anything. What I do to expand it out a little bit, though, is I run the Nord Stage 2 into my laptop. I just MIDI it to my Motu Ultralight. Okay. And I'm running Ableton Live as a front end for everything. So Ableton Live is my basic, program. Ableton Live is so good now that you can kind of do anything with it. I tend to be creative with Live more than I do other things. I use Digital Performer in the studio as my main sequencer, my main DAW. So like, for instance, right now, I've got my piano stuff set up that this volume now doesn't change with the pedal at all. But like this does, and what this is the frequency of the wah-wah on the Rhodes, and I've got that morphing with the pedal. But if I want to, all I have to do is hold down Control pedal and then turn the range of the knob I want. Now this volume knob is also being controlled by the pedal. So it's super flexible. All I do is pop that external thing on, and now I'm playing the laptop. And this is a Rhodes I sampled myself at RPM Studios in New York City. At one point, I just sampled each note. Because it has a nastiness to it that you really don't find in electric keyboards too much, So it has a little dirty. I sample different levels, so I have a normal sound, a softer sound. With the rotor, with the the pan, the tremolo on the Rhodes. He likes MILFs. Hey, it's different for each one of us. It's different.
If anything, I'd like to incorporate sounds. Exactly. And the thing is, growing up for me, I grew up with hip-hop and a lot of electronic music. And, those kind of sounds It's not a question of trying to push them away and not be a part of them, but like even growing up with sounds and hearing things in a certain way, if you're going to go, I mean, none of that is possible.
Wait. Wasn't the beginning of that, wasn't that revolving at the beginning? Didn't you just morph from revolving into like... revolving into like some...
The point is that I wouldn't have any of that concept at all if it wasn't for programmed music. If it wasn't for hearing things absolutely... And I mean, Hadrian's playing probably wouldn't even exist in a way that it does. And Mike, if we didn't grow up with things that are you know, perfectly quantized, or, you know, where there's a, you know, sounds like anything that you can make with your voice instead of voice, you know, that's all from records and samples, you know what I mean? It's like that would sound like somebody having a seizure if we weren't aware of the DJ culture and that is part of what we do. So we're not trying to push things away, we're trying to incorporate them.
Joe drew from everything too. I mean, he was obviously an accomplished bebop jazz musician at a core of it. Before that, he was actually a classical pianist, and he can actually really play classical music. You know, he has that background, and then he also has the background coming from like folk music and music in villages and things like that he grew up in. So he, you know, he's able to, and then of course he's really well traveled, so he combines all these elements into one, you know, beautiful music with so much depth, you know what I mean? To me, that's what his fusion is about. I have known and I've heard that there's jazz happening in Croatia for a long time. This is actually my first time visiting Croatia, so I'm not myself familiar enough really with Croatian music as it is, you know, as it stands, like folk music and things like that. I would love to hear more, but you know, we do travel all over the world and we do get to go to really interesting places, and this is definitely one of them. I want to hear more of the music from here.
It's a beautiful city.
It's a beautiful city.
Wow. Love it. It's wonderful there. It's really, you can stay here.
it's always interesting to meet new people, with a different concept from you, and work with them and see how you can combine and make something really, really nice, from this combination. Alba's actually a very interesting singer. She does some very creative things with looping and with her voice that have different effects and different concepts. Really very interesting. She's definitely not locked into a particular type of thing. And Elvis, of course, is a very accomplished guitar player. So it's great to be here and work with them. So nice to meet them, and I also really appreciate that it's him that really put the effort into bringing us here, and so of course we really appreciate him for that and the opportunity to play for the people here and for in this country.
Onaj drugi dio priče je taj da se glazbenici koji dolaze na Jazz Ex Tempore uvijek druže sa hrvatskim glazbenicima, odnosno s nečim s naše strane. Ove godine smo boje Hrvatske branili Alba Načinović i moja malenkost.
Treba to doživjeti, ne? Tu energiju koja te samo pokupi i pometeća, a bit na stage s njima, to je transcendentalno, bih rekla. Stvarno nisam svjesna zapravo toga što se dešavalo, i kao što su rekli na radionicama, Zawinul isto boksao i govorio da kao u boksu, tako i u glazbi treba samo reagirati i bez razmišljanja, i to te zapravo i Amerikanci i ovakvi monstrumi nauče just do it. I nadam se da ste uživali.
Za mene je to onako dijelić po dijelić ostvarenje svih mojih snova, od davnašnjih snova. Znači malo po malo stvari dolaze na pravo mjesto, a meni dolaze na pravo mjesto onda kad se na pozornici nađeš rame u rame s nekim kojega samo gledao preko videa, slušao na pločama, CD-ima, i onda jednog dana u životu dođeš do točke da ti taj kaže ajmo sad svirat zajedno. Sad možemo.
This is a beautiful spot here. It's really, really gorgeous. It's really lovely.
I custom ordered the chandelier. I had to
I was singing. When I walk in, I go, "Honey, I'm home." It's like my wife.
I thought I was home. This looks so much like my house back at home that I thought for some reason I was.
Honey, I'm home. Where are you?
I'm home. There's so many rooms, you never really know. It's confusing sometimes.
If I were you, I'd let the legendary Joe Zawinul empower you. Just the name alone can devour fools, cause it's powerful. If I were you, I'd let the legendary Joe Zawinul empower you. Just the name alone can devour fools, cause it's powerful. If I were you, I'd let the legendary Joe Zawinul empower you. Just the name alone can devour fools, cause it's powerful. If I were you, I'd let the legendary Joe Zawinul empower you. Just the name alone can devour fools, cause it's powerful.